Hi there, our video today is going to be looking into our best practices when running a webinar on Microsoft Teams. We want to share with you our best tips for you to get the most out of Teams webinars. Our first step is creating the webinar in our calendar. So in the calendar we want to select a chosen time and then go into the drop down menu next to the new meeting and click on webinar. Once we have done this, you can see the details page is very similar to when creating a normal meeting in Teams. We want to add the essentials in here. We have already chosen our time, so now we need a title that describes exactly what the webinar is about. In the attendees section, we want to add any presenters or speakers or co-organisers that we want to join us in the webinar. Then we want to provide an agenda so everyone presenting or co-organising knows exactly what will be covered in the webinar. Underneath the taskbar, we can see an info message pop up. We want to click on the link that says View Registration Form, as this will allow us to alter what information will be provided on the registration form. So we'll need to fill in relevant information as we did originally so that attendees have the same information. We can also add in any speakers that will be involved. We can change the form that is being filled in and add in any extra fields that are required for your specific webinar. We can view this registration form to see how it looks for attendees and make sure that we are happy with the information being provided. Once we have saved these settings, we can see in the top taskbar we have some options there. Here we can change whether everyone needs to register, just people in your organisation, or nobody. We also have a list of response options at the top, so we can choose to request responses. Whether or not people are allowed to forward the webinar, depending on the nature of your webinar, this is completely up to you. You can customize it exactly however necessary. We can also choose our time zone, flag the webinar as a specific category. In this case, we'll put it under training. Once you're happy with these settings, we can then send a meeting request. Once we have done this, it is then in the calendar and we can now go through more meeting options by going back into our calendar and right-clicking our webinar. Then go ahead and click into edit at the top. Here we can see we can change our meeting options. This will take us to this page where we can decide things like if we want people to bypass the lobby, choose who can present and co-organise, as well as if you want people to have cameras and mics. We also have the option to have meeting chat included if we want the webinar to be recorded automatically, and to enable Q&A. When doing a webinar, it is likely that you'll want to do a Q&A to give your attendees a chance to ask any questions. So once we have the meeting options ready for our specific meeting, we will want to save these settings. We will now go back to the meeting details and we want to set up some polls to send out during the webinar to hopefully keep people interacted. To add a poll, we want to go to the top taskbar and go to the plus sign to add this tab. We want to find polls in the app section and go ahead and click this to add it. This will directly send us to the poll section where we can see a host of suggestions on the right hand side to give you some ideas. So we can add the How Are You Feeling Today poll as an icebreaker. What we want to do is make sure the settings for the poll are set up correctly for the nature of your webinar. If you want to record the name of the respondents, we can tick this box. We can share results with respondents as well as allow presenters to edit draft polls. We then have the option to launch this poll now or save it as a draft. We want to save it for the meantime, and if you want to create your own poll, simply click the new poll and you have different poll options listed there to add in and prepare for the webinar. You can then post these when you see fit during your webinar. These are completely customizable based on what responses you want from your attendees. To set the Q&A up, we want to go to the top taskbar. We can go into the Q&A section in More. If you don't already have this on there, you can download it in the Teams App Store. When setting the Q&A up, you have options in there too. We can ask new questions, respond to conversations, and post anonymously. We can also allow organisers to moderate attendees' conversations there too. Once we join the meeting, we can then go through our presentation and implement the polls and Q&A where we see fit. This will help to get some more interactivity with our audience. At the end of the meeting, we can analyse our webinar by going into attendance where we can see anyone that joined, the length of the meeting, etc. By using this and the polls and Q&A, we can analyse what went well in our webinar and how we can improve for next time. That is it for today's video. We hope this has been helpful for you, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks.